I greet you all in love in the precious name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. In our previous encounter, we spoke about the book of Revelation, chapter 6. We meditated upon the messages of the second seal. I hope you remember. When the second seal was broken, a red horse ventured, and upon the fiery red horse was seated a rider. A word was spoken to him. He was able to take away the peace from the world. It was granted to him to take away the peace from the earth, and that people should kill one another. And when this fiery red horse began to venture into the world, in the nations, in the families, in the tribes, in the society, and in the hearts of individuals, it had the authority to take away peace. This is clearly spoken in the scriptures and we have read them. Again, I would like to say something. There are two types of peace. Number one, peace of an individual. Secondly, the peace among other people. Therefore, only if individual peace rests within a person, he can be at peace even with others. If not, he will always be fighting with one another. Therefore, by targeting the peace of an individual, if the peace from the hearts of every individual is taken away, an entire society can be confused altogether. This is the calculation of Satan. Therefore, what is he doing? He uses many opportunities that is available now, and he controls the hearts of the people by making them violent to kill. One of the plans that is given to him is he must take away the peace. However, the peace must be destroyed to such an extent that men kill each other. Therefore, the hearts of the people must be changed in such a way that they would kill each other. Anger and wrath, bitterness, jealousy and envy must be provoked. These things must be provoked and peace must be destroyed. And if this is done, then there will be confusions in the world. There will be no peace at home. There will be no peace at work. There will be no peace among friends. There will be no peace in society. We cannot come outside. There will be no peace among nations. And in order to create such a cruel situation, Satan is given authority. Authority is given to the Antichrist. Therefore, by destroying the peace of an individual person, he can take away the peace of the society and the entire world. Therefore, in order to destroy the peace of an individual, what has Satan planned to do? And what are the things he will use? These are the things we saw previously. Technology is the first thing we looked into. Most of the technology that's invented now, many things which is possible through science, is for the cause of destruction. Many things, good things are invented, but if you look into technology on the whole, it gives a lot of preference for killing and for destruction. Technology also gives a lot of importance for entertainment. Therefore, through such technology, how people must be controlled, how must they be enslaved to addiction, so that they do not grasp the reality of what's happening, by making them dwell in their imaginations, by destroying the livelihood of the people, and by making them cruel and violent to even kill, by making them people without peace. These are the tricks of Satan which we saw previously. We also saw about race, the expansion and the rule of race all over the world. No one talks about this much. They don't even think about it because they do not know about it. However, the rule of race is happening all around us today. I am explaining many things to you now, but there are race all around me. You are listening to my messages from home, and there are race all around you. And this is being intensified all over the world. They called it 2G and then 3G. There is 4G and 5G. The use and effects of race has intensified. Even the person residing in a remote village are ruled by race now. They are using race. It has expanded to all places. Therefore, how can the heart of a person be controlled by it? Thirdly, we looked into drugs and intoxicating substances. How is this introduced? A network of teams is working towards it globally. A huge network. It targets the youngsters, those who are addicted to drugs. It supplies drugs to them. They will begin to become intoxicated with alcohol, and then they will seek after the highest ones. People who are addicted to drugs will not understand what he is doing. And even during situations when he doesn't use the drugs, he will be careless and violent to kill. His mentality will be completely different. He will not have compassion towards the sorrows of men. He will not care about anything around him. He will be transformed into a person who dwells in a different planet altogether. Therefore, such types of incidents will happen. By provoking this, people are becoming violent to kill. People are becoming unproductive and useless. And at the same time, the peace in the hearts of the people are being destroyed. This is the cause for it. Fourthly, I explained about the medical field previously. The field of medicine was introduced in order to serve the human society. The field of medicine is to serve the people. And many doctors and nurses are still serving the people in the field of medicine. More specifically, the nurses who exist. Their work is indeed amazing. At times, I would think about them when I was in hospital. Even though we give them money, but they would touch our wounds, they would dress it, and they would take care of it. Who would want to touch our wounds for money? They are not bothered by our wounds. They are concerned about us. You cannot do these things if you are not a servant. However, the field of medicine, which began as a service, have been changed into business. But a group who thought that they could do anything has entered. I'm not talking about everyone. In fact, I have many friends who are doctors. In Madurai, in Chennai, I have many friends who are doctors. At times, when I converse with them, I would talk to them till midnight. And I would ask them many doubts which I have. They would explain me many things. They are prayerful. There are doctors who even have prayer groups. Indeed, such a company do exist. As I had already mentioned, in all the fields, there are people who are good and there are people who use it for the gain. There are people who work in the form of service and there are people who change everything into business. Now observe something. Even in ministry, there are people who do it as a service for the Lord. They think it is their responsibility. There are people who serve the Lord as a son serves his father. But there are also people who make it into business in order to expand their wealth, in order to exalt their own names. Such people have entered into all fields. People who are formed by the devil and the Antichrist. In all the fields, including politics. We have heard about many good politicians. There are many good politicians even now, but a huge company of people are being led by the Antichrist, the group whom he uses in order to prepare the world. They are there in all sectors. They are involved in ministry. They are involved in politics. They are involved in businesses. And they are also involved in the field of medicine. I'm not talking about everyone, but there is a group. Once upon a time, there were many doctors who even sacrificed their own lives and gave everything for the field of medicine. But now it has become a business. A group of people are involved in order to expand their wealth, and they are targets for Satan. What will the Antichrist do? He will use the medical field and he will use medicines in order to change the mindset of people by bringing forth many chemical changes in the organs and brains of such kind of people. By introducing certain types of drugs, a person can be changed into a violent one. A person can become unproductive. A person can be without confidence and hope. There are many medicines used for this purpose. When we visit a hospital, we trust the doctors and give ourselves to them. We are injected to sleep believing the doctor will do good. But what do we know what they are doing? We are intaking the medicines which they give, believing it will cure us. Does anyone search for what type of a drug it is? They prescribe the drug and they will say that this will work, and we trust them. But are all the doctors worthy of this trust? No. There are some people who will use our trust and our ignorance in this, and they have plans to change mankind. It is either through some of the corporate sectors from the top, or through the people who are under the Antichrist. If the work is given to them, and if millions of dollars are given for them to involve in the work, for sure such things will happen in the field of medicine. We hear about a lot of scams in the field of medicine. We hear about illegal trade of organs. We hear about illegal transplant of organs. And that is the reason we must always consider the influence of someone who are close to us, who are involved in the field of medicine. This is what is said in many places. I'm not trying to blame anyone, but such things are happening in many nations and places. This is what is happening. You must know, in recent times, a bus which traveled from Malaysia to another nation, the bus was seized. Many human organs were illegally smuggled in the bus. We do not know whether it was taken from the body of a corpse or a person was killed for this. These are news from the newspapers. When I visited Malaysia, this was the scam that was happening. I myself have read this in the news. When so many things are happening all around the world now, people trust in the medical field. Doctors are being treated like God, and we trust them blindly without questioning them about anything. There are good people, but some evil ones have entered, and they are opening new doors for the devil. Therefore, through the field of science, the nature of people can be altered. A person can become unproductive completely. He can be changed into someone who is violent to kill. You must have observed there are many institutions which will protect the mental state. The patients who are over there are very vigorous. They shout and scream. They beat themselves up and scratch the walls. There are many such dangerous patients. And when a specific drug is induced, they will become quiet. Therefore, a person who could not control his mental state, a person who beats and screams, is being controlled by medicines. Then won't it be possible to provoke a quiet one into a violent person? Those types of drugs, those types of medicines, when it is introduced in the field of medicine, then a complete society can be changed. The mentality of the people in the nation can be changed. Even those types of things are introduced so that people are becoming without peace. There are many such ways to do it. Apart from this, the political decisions which are taken, there is pressure upon the people. There is pressure because of trade and business. All these things will pressurize our minds. We read every day there are laws against the people. There are many things against people. When these things are being forced upon all of us, our hearts are frustrated. We will become wrathful and turn violent. Through all these things, Satan takes away the peace from the world. There are possibilities for him to do these things. He will use these things, but we do not know what more he will introduce. There would be many other technologies. Many other new things will be introduced. We do not know. This is just the beginning. These things will happen during the second seal. The reason for these things to happen is because if he takes away the peace from a nation, it will weaken. If a nation is alcoholic, if people murder and devour one another, if murders are happening in all the places of the nation, then the population will decrease. A nation will weaken. A person who is addicted to drugs or anger issues, a person who is without peace is not useful for anything. Export and trade will be affected. The entire nation will weaken and will stumble. It is in this situation that confusions will arise in the nation, and the Antichrist will come as a peacemaker, and he will begin to control all the nations. And these are the things done in order to weaken the nation. And the fiery red horse which ventured, secondly, was done in order to assist the white horse that was before it. This is what we can understand from the fiery red horse. Nextly, we are going to look into the third horse. The third horse that ventured out was a black horse. This is written in the book of Revelation in chapter 6 and in verses 5 and 6. Let me read these verses for you. When he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four living creatures, saying, a quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and the wine. When the seal was broken, the third living creature said to John, come and see. Observe carefully. The living creatures had 4 faces. This is written in the book of Ezekiel. Specifically, it is not recorded which face had called John. However, we can understand something based on these verses. What are the 4 faces? The face of a lion, the second is the face of an ox, the third is the face of a human, and fourth is the face of an eagle. And the third face that is mentioned could possibly be the face of a human. You must not ask whether it's written anywhere. Based on the things about the living creatures that's recorded in the book of Ezekiel, we can possibly assume for our understanding that the third living creature which called was the face of a human. When you consider these things, when the seal was broken, and the third living creature which had the face of a human said to the apostle John, come and see. And when this happened, we saw a black horse venturing. Now, observe this horse. The first horse was a white one. Second, it was a fiery red horse. The third horse was a black one. I had already explained something, that everything that's mentioned in a vision has its own specific meaning. If you look into all the horses, all 3 were of different colors. First was a white horse. The Antichrist will use the confusions which exist among the nations and will establish a false peace. We have kept in the world the color white as a symbol of peace. Therefore, what will he do? He will try to be a peacemaker in this world. He will try to establish peace in the midst of confusions. And the color white is used in order to symbolize this. The second horse was a fiery red one. The fiery red horse could also mean the shedding of blood. Every color has a specific meaning. I've already mentioned that there is a difference between the things you see in reality and in a vision. Therefore, each one has its own meaning. The red color that's mentioned could mean bloodshed. Therefore, there will be confusions among the people. Each one will be hostile towards another. Even humanity will be removed from the hearts of the people. There will be confusions and riots everywhere. There will be murders and bloodsheds. In order to even show such dangerous things, the red color is highlighted. Moreover, there is something else. By confusing the nations and entering into it, by bringing forth so many things among the people, there are nations which symbolize the red color, nations which uphold red color rule. It could also mean they will unite and do something. You must know the nations of red color. You must know what it means to have such rules. The nations which fall under this category are China and Russia. Even their ideologies are called red beliefs. Therefore, the red color horse could mean the nations under these ideologies. They might unify and come together, establish a firm, and might bring forth confusions, riots, murders, fights, and peacelessness all over the world. Therefore, each color has its own symbol, and with the intent to destroy peace and to destroy unity among nations and to bring forth confusions among them, the red rules, the red color, are used, and these act as a symbolization in this place. And the horse which we see here is black in color. And we can observe that when the Lord breaks open each one of the seals, a different color horse ventures. Now there are few other visions which can be likened to this. I think you must have read them. Here, Zechariah sees some visions. Some important things are explained in this. Let us just look into one of the verses. Even in the vision of Zechariah, horses of multiple colors are mentioned. Firstly, Zechariah chapter 1 and verse 8. It is said, I saw by night, and behold, a man riding on a red horse, and it stood among the myrtle trees in the hollow, and behind him were horses, red, sorrel, and white. This is what is written in this verse. There is a second vision in accordance with this, in Zechariah chapter 5. It's written from verses 1 through 8. Therefore, let me read these verses for you so that you can know them. The reason I'm doing this is because some people in haste might think that they are the same. If there is a white horse, you'll relate all the white horses. This type of meditation will not help you always. It will lead us to understand the scriptures incorrectly and to confuse us through it. That is the reason I'm also explaining the things which are in relation to these verses and scriptures. Let us read these verses from the book of Zechariah and then proceed further. Now, let me read these verses for you. These verses are located in Zechariah chapter 6 from verses 1 through 8. The previous verse was from Zechariah chapter 1. Then I turned and raised my eyes and looked, and behold, 4 chariots were coming from between 2 mountains, and the mountains were mountains of bronze. With the first chariot were red horses, with the second chariot black horses, with the third chariot white horses, and with the fourth chariot dappled horses, strong steeds. Zechariah sees 2 visions. The first was in chapter 1, and the second vision is in Zechariah chapter 6. It speaks about multicolored horses in these 2 visions, but they are different. The 4 horses which we see here is different. Just because they are horses, we cannot link all such visions, and we must not confuse ourselves. These things symbolize and mean something else. Alright, what are we going to look into now? These things which are mentioned here are recorded to be 4 spirits of the Lord. These horses are 4 spirits of the Lord. But in the vision from the book of Revelation, these horses would carry the Antichrist. Alright, in Revelation chapter 6, even though it might seem that a different rider was seated on the horses, all of them are the Antichrist. You must not think the rider of the white horse was different from the rider of the red horse. It all symbolized the same Antichrist. These visions are filled with wise meanings. All these things speak about the different facets and works of the Antichrist. And this vision is shown as an identification for many events. And even though a different rider seemed to be seated on the horses in Revelation chapter 6, they all are Antichrist. That means the multifaceted works of the Antichrist is being revealed as different colored horses and as riders on the horses. This is how we must consider. What will follow after wars? There will be famine. This is what the Bible says. When the same question was raised in Matthew chapter 24, Jesus explained in the same order. Firstly, there will be a group who will say, I am Christ, and you shall hear about wars and rumors of wars. Thirdly, famines and pestilences. It is the same order. Now, a black horse ventures, and the events that will follow are days of famine. Famine in the nations, famine all over the world. There will be famine when the black horse ventures. The rider on the black horse had a pair of scales in his hands, and he would also fix the prices. A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius. 3 quarts of barley for a denarius. Barley was used a lot by the Jews. Therefore, the command that is given here is 1 quart of wheat for a denarius and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius. The Antichrist, who was shown till now to have a bow and a sword in his hand, now has a pair of scales. Firstly, to cause fear with the bow. Secondly, to cause fear using sword. All these things are strategies in a war. to cause fear by showing a sword, to cause fear by showing a bow. These are related to war, but now it is related to business. Therefore, the next thing that the Antichrist will enter is trade and business in the food of mankind, in the livelihood of mankind. This is what he does. Therefore, this is what it shows. The Antichrist, who was seen earlier with a bow and a sword in his hand, is shown here to have a pair of scales in his hand. A pair of scales symbolize that food items will be measured and then given. As you know, a pair of scales is to measure. Nothing extra will be given. Everything will be measured and everything will be given out. This means that the necessary items will be restricted and distributed. Even the essential items which we need, even food items, they will be restricted. You must buy it from the Antichrist. Isn't this a terrible thing? He entered into the army and worked. He entered into the nation and worked. Now has entered into business. This is something which will affect all the people from the top order till the bottom. He has the pair of scales. Now people who rule over a specific territory, we must purchase everything from them. Everyone will not have it. The power to hold the pair of scales, the power to measure and give, is in his hands. It has been centralized. You cannot do business alone now. Anything which is manufactured independently cannot be promoted. Everything will be under his control and authority. The pair of scales is with him. He will decide the prices, and whatever he gives, we must receive them. Now everyone has a pair of scales. It is used by traders. A pair of scales symbolize the authority to measure and give, the authority to give to the people, the authority to measure and to set prices, and it is under the control of one. Who it is? The control of the Antichrist. This is not something which is normal. We have to talk a lot about this incident. This is what is practically happening now. Trade, business, farming, food items and everything. They are unified and they are pushed towards someone else. We can vaguely understand that there is a problem involved, and the book of Revelation clearly teaches us these things. Kindly wait until the next episode and we shall look into these details. Until then, may the Lord God bless you and keep you. Amen.